All right, folks. So the brass has been tumbled actually for a couple of days. So I got back to videoing again, but we'll go ahead and empty it out here. And I'm just going to use this thing, but you can use like a cheap plastic kitchen strainer. The little plastic strainers they make for lasagna and pastas. Those work great. So you don't have to have this, but I have it, so I'm going to use it. But the goal is just to get all of that stuff off of the brass. And so for this, we just close this up. And we'll open it up. And then we have our polished brass. So I'm going to take 15 pieces of this and we'll reload it. Okay, so in your Lee's die kit, you're going to have a shell holder. And we're going to need that. And we're also going to need this die right here that has this pin sticking out of the bottom of it. That is your decapping and resizing die. So this resizes the brass because it expands out when it shoots, and this will knock the primer out of it. We'll decap it. And so we're going to take and we're going to knock this primer out of the brass, and then we're going to resize it. The one other thing you're going to need as far as a tool that I didn't mention in the first video is some type of a caliper, micrometer, or whatever you call this. But this kind of measuring tool, I think this is a caliper. But you know, something that you can stick here, you can zero it, and then you can take a measurement. You're probably going to want a metal one instead of a plastic one, but you can get one of these 25-30 bucks on Amazon. This one actually came from Radio Shack back in the day, so they're out of business now. So you know, I can't really tell you what brand to get, but this one's worked well for me. But I think any of these are fine. Even Harbor Freight makes a couple. I think those are probably fine too. But anyway, before we get into measuring anything, we gotta knock the primers out of all these. This is an easy die to set up, and I'll show you how it goes in. So basically, you're gonna want to take your shell holder, and that slides in the groove right here. I like to kind of turn it sideways once it's in there to make it easier to get the shell in and out. But then you just put this up to the top. I'll go ahead and I'll take this out of adjustment so I can show you how you adjust it. And you're gonna screw this down by hold the ram until it touches, and then you're just gonna tighten your lock ring. There. And that's all there is to setting this particular die up. So we'll go ahead and stick our brass in there, and it resized it and it knocked the primer out of it. And so I like to work from this side to this side on my tray. So I'm just going to take and put them over there as I work them, and that way I know these are resized and decapped. It's just this simple. You just have to go through all of them. But some of them may go a little easier than others. They expand different amounts sometimes when you shoot them. They're different brands of brass. Sometimes you have nickel plated ones, but you just do this to all of them. And normally I won't just do 15 at a time. Normally I will sit down and just do a whole big batch of these, like, a few hundred when I have them saved up. That's why. And we lost one primer there that kind of fell out. There, we'll get that out of there. Every once in a while, I like to take a little powdered air and blow off my press, because you get some powder and debris down there. And every once in a while, I just take a little Hoppy's gun oil and put it in there, kind of around, and just lube that up, and it moves a lot easier. You'll notice it starts to get a little stiff when you move it, and that helps. Okay, so now we are ready to check the length of each of these cases. So you can look this up on the internet for the SAAMI specifications or whatever, but your die will come with a sheet, and it will tell you the maximum trim length for the case. And we see here it's 1.155. So what we're going to do is check each of our cases to make sure they're not over length. Now 38 special usually is not. Because, let me zero this. And then we'll come out here to point 1. Oh, there we go. So now we're at 1.155, and now we can just check each of our cases. And you tighten this little nub down to lock it in place so it stays there. And just make sure they all fit within that. And I expect that they all will. Now, 357 Magnum is a different story. It has a higher pressure, and those cases will stretch more. And 38 special might stretch if you shoot it enough, but I don't think I've ever had to trim a 38 special case. Now, we will go through trimming in another video and what all that's about, but it just adds a whole nother step to the process. So that's why shooting 38 special is so nice. It's so easy to reload because you don't usually have to trim it. And those all meet their specification. So now we've decapped and we've resized our brass. Now we have to put a primer in the brass. And for this, we're going to use the Ram Prime system. You can use any priming system that you have or buy, but this one's normally like $9 or $10. It's like $20 now, but that price will come back down as supplies come back in stock. But basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take out our decapping resizing die. Okay, and then we're going to take out our shell holder. All right, now this piece from the decapping resizing, or from that priming Ram Prime set, goes in the top like so. Now we have to put our shell holder in that top part, and there'll be a little piece that just kind of sits up here. You just have to kind of push down that with a screwdriver to let that in there, and then it's in there. All right, now the pistons, or the priming tools, there's a larger one and a smaller one, and you'll see the larger one's a little bit bigger in the middle. You don't want the large one. We're doing small pistol, so we're just going to use the smaller one, and it just goes in the press down there like that, and then that will come up and we'll seat the primer in the tool, or in the shell. Okay, so now we're ready to get some primers out. I have some of these Argentinian primers. And what we're going to do is get 15 of them out. So I have 15 there. And we're just going to set them down. Try not to drop any of them. Like I dropped that one. I will show you here. I like to take all my primers and just get them flipped over when I do it this way. It just makes them a little easier to pick up and sit in there right. There we go. Okay, so now all my primers are flipped over. We're ready to do this process. I'll move you a little closer. You can see how it works. So basically we're going to take our casing, we're going to slick that in. We're going to take our primer, we're going to set it up. The smooth side, the smooth flat side of the primer goes down, and the anvil faces up. We're just going to go up, boom. And you see we've seated a nice little primer in there. If we all focus. But we've seated a nice primer, nice and flush in there. This really does a nice job seating your primers flush, this tool. And we've got another one. And so now we'll just go through and we'll do the rest of these. And this again is a step you can do when you're getting your brass prepared, is you can pre-prime it and then leave the primed brass on the shelf and then just load what you want to load when you load it. You don't have to, oh, I'll put a casing in. You don't have to go through this, you know, for every time you load. You can just do a few hundred of these and set them aside. Then all you have to do is add your powder and your bullet and seat it, and you're ready to go shoot. Okay. And maybe 15 was a little too many to do for the video. Maybe I should have done 10 or 5, but we're going to go shoot them after this. And I wanted to have at least 15 to shoot. I don't seem to want to fit in there right. There it goes. Okay. I will say that once in a while, you'll get a little piece of dust or something in this. You just have to blow it out. Get your primers to sit in there again. That can of compressed air is kind of a necessary tool for reloading as well. So now we have our brass all primed, and now we're ready to start setting some powder in them. And so I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. You can do it on the press. You can load your powder off the press. We're going to do an on press powder. So I'm just going to show you how that works. It just makes it one step. It makes it a little simpler. So the next die we're going to use is going to be our powder through expanding. die. And so what this does is this puts a little lip in it, so the bullet, it puts a little flare to it, so the bullet can just start to sit in that empty shell casing. Um, and then the other thing it does is allow us to dump the powder in the shell. And the funnel from your kit can go right there. And then you can just dump the powder into your casings while you're expanding them. I think that works really well. You can also take your cases and individually set the funnel on them and prime them like that. But I don't like doing that because you have a tendency when you're working with 50 or 100 rounds at a time to accidentally forget where you had your funnel last time. So if you do it that way, just make sure that you are very careful not to double prime. Um, but anyway, we're going to go ahead and set this up. So we're going to put our cell holder on first. And I like to again turn that kind of sideways once it goes in there. Then we're going to raise this ram all the way to the top and hold it. We're going to screw this in so it touches. Right. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this just down. Right there. And now we need to turn it a full turn out. So what I do is I just stick my thumb right here, or my finger, and bring that around one full turn. And then we're going to have to just hold on to this top part and tighten the bottom part. We'll put our funnel in there. And we should be about right. We might have to flare it. We might have to move that down to flare it a little more. But what we're going to do is put our case in there and try one and try to test fit a bullet and see if that fits or not. See if it can start a bullet. So there's that. Now we'll get a bullet. The bullet, and I'm going to make sure that it can just start in there and that it stays when it starts, and it does. You don't want to flare it more than you have to. You just want to flare it just enough so that that bullet can start, and that does. So now we're ready to put that back up in there again, and now we're going to measure our powder. All right, so I decided to change over from using Accurate number 2 to using Ramshot Zip, just because it measures a little bit better in these scoops. That Ramshot Zip was coming out light on the 0.3 and heavy on the 0.6. This comes out about right as long as I kind of scoop it, get a good big heaping scoop. It'll come out correctly. But you might have to play around with different powders in your scoops to find one that measures like you want it to for your load. So we'll go ahead and tear that to 0 grains. And now I'm just going to take my powder, and I really like to get in there like that, get a nice heavy scoop. It comes to 3.9. Our load data is 3.8 to 4.2, I believe. Let me double check. Our load data. So we're using a 158 grain bullet. And so Ramshot Zip 3.8 to 4.2. So we're at 3.9. That's perfect. That's right down the middle. So now we're ready to take that and put it in here. So now I'm just going to take my powder and dump it in my funnel. Kind of tap it a little like that. We'll take this out and we'll set that over to this side. So like I said, I work from this side to this side. Always do. And then if I have everything on this side, I'm ready to do another process. I just turn this around and work from this side to this side. All right. And so just try to keep that process going so that you don't end up accidentally double charging one. I want to see if that bullet will still fit in here, because that one felt a little. Yep, it will. Okay. You push that down. That's 3.88. That in there. Put another round in, another casing in. Move right. So that seems to be the trick to this is scoop it, push the scoop down through here 3 times, and then pull it out and dump it. It comes out about right. So now we have loaded the powder in all of our cases. The next very important step, the most important step of reloading, is to take a look at this and look down in every single case. Make sure it has powder in it, and make sure it doesn't, one of them doesn't look twice as high as the other. They're all around the same level of powder. And if you need to, you can get a flashlight and do this. I have enough overhead light to see, and these all are okay. You don't want a double charged one, and you don't want an empty one, because an empty one will cause a squib and that'll blow your gun up. And a double charged one also will blow your gun up. Not so much in my case, I'm going to be shooting these out with 357 Magnum. But if you're just shooting a regular 38 and you double charge a 38, boom. All right. Okay. So now we're ready to put our bullets down in here and just get them started like so. So we'll go ahead and do that for all of these. And a powder measure really can be a huge time saver if you're loading a lot of ammo. I would recommend getting at least the cheap Lee's powder measure if you're going to do this a lot. But I'm just kind of trying to show you you can do this without a powder measure. It just takes a little more work. Okay, so now we got our bullets started in each of these. And now we're ready to set up our bullet seating and crimping die. So we'll do that next. Alright, so now we're going to set up this die. And this is your bullet seating and bullet crimping die. And you're going to need your micrometer for this as well. So what you want to do is just sit this in here. So we've got our shell holder in already. We're going to set this down. We're going to bring the ram to the top. We're going to turn it till it touches. Just till it touches. Like so. And then we're going to take and we're going to back that out 3 turns. That's 1 turn, 2 turns, and 3 turns. All right. Now you just have to kind of hold on to the top of this and turn the nut down till it roughly, till it's good and snug. There. Make sure you can turn this part. You want to back this off and start along with your things. We are going to be crimping these. Let me double check what we're crimping them to. I think we're going to crimp them to 1.480, but let me double check. On my load data, 1.477. Okay, is the what we're aiming for. Okay, so we're gonna stick that down there. It didn't seat it at all. We're gonna turn it a little bit. Now it's starting to go in. It's starting to go in. Now we're gonna pull it out and just check it. This is still way too long, I'm sure, but we're gonna check it anyway. I'm gonna zero this. .634. So yeah, we still have a ways to go. We'll see how we're making some progress. 1.593. 572. So we can go in quite a bit more. Start out a little bit more. A little bit more. We'll check it. 5.4. Now we're getting closer. 5.20. 5.0. Or 8. And you just want to be careful not to go too far with it. And 4.7. 4.77. Yeah, that's right. Right in there. So that's where we want our bullet to sit at. Now, what we're going to do is now take and back this off, back this back off, okay? And now we're going to take and loosen our lock ring. We're just going to turn this down just a little bit and then tighten our lock ring. And we're just going to seat the die in a little farther, but we want the bullet part backed off. And we're going to do that till we get our appropriate crimp on the bullet. And keep turning that in. I'm turning the bottom part, not the top part. And you'll just notice it starts to roll crimp it a little bit. And we've got a nice roll crimp going on there. And it's really going to not show up on camera, but you can just tell it's smoother and it's crimped in. And we might be able to go a little farther with that. So let me back off this lock ring and go a little farther with it. And that's a nice crimp. So once we have our crimping set up right there, then we put this in and we hold this ram down, and now you tighten this up nice and tight. And now your die is set to seat and crimp the rest of your bullets. And we'll double check this first one, make sure it's dead on. That actually just is a little bit short, so we're gonna move this out a little. That's a little too long. Gonna move that back in a little. There we go. That's perfect. So now we're just ready to go through here and crimp the rest of them. And we can check them every so often too, just to make sure they're right where they're supposed to be. 1.477. It's perfect. So now we're just ready to go through here and seat and crimp them. And there we go. We have our completed 38 special rounds. And now we're going to go to the range and we're going to shoot them.
The last one was a shoulder.
I was aiming for that.
I meant the last one today.